Alright. Hi, everybody. Hi, everybody. It's your friend Daniel Hutchins. We're back again here on the Hutchins Hut. So, what were we doing? Well, last night we got the season 2 again of the Mickey Mouse Clubhouse. Yeah, we did more Mickey Mouse Clubhouse last night on the computer. Um, we just rolled out of bed, had to use the restroom, and yeah, and then I just was like, oh, let's play a little bit of some of music, for to continue this Eric Appreciation Month. So we did a little bit of Air Supply and a little bit of some Falco. Yes, Air Supply, I'm All Out of Love, and then the Falco, Rock Me Amadeus, the American edit. Uh, so, um, so what are we gonna be doing for the morning? Well, that's an excellent question. I'm glad you guys asked. Because I'm gonna grab my computer here, and we're gonna have to move a little things around. Oh, I also have to move my flying Lego car, and my other Legos over here. So yeah. Anyways, but yeah, it kind of sort of goes kind of sort of like this. Okay, so all right, hold on. Okay, now we're back. Okay, I had to prop it up on my pencil cup because remember my kickstand on my back of my phone case still gets loose. You know, for lots of times it gets real loose. All right, so we're pressing out the escape button. We're checking our notifications and seeing what's up with the world of Facebook and what's in the world of YouTube. Yeah, so boy oh howdy, we definitely have some announcements we gotta look at. What did my sister say in this comment? Okay. Okay, so just my sister replying back to me about the food. I replied to her underneath her post on July 14th. I said, "Yeah," and then she replied, "I'm glad you found the value of those meals, but I'm sorry I haven't cooked as often as you would like." Nah, that's okay. That's okay. It's all kind of based me because we'll live in a broke society, okay? We're just living in a broke society that so happens to be run by the second coming of Hitler, as I have reminded you guys constantly before. Um, oh, Mom sent me an attachment of the recasting of the Marvel Universe. Okay, yeah, I already know. They're going to recast everybody on the X-Men after Secret Wars. I think I already told you guys that they're going to be recasting all of the X-Men. I think I briefly mentioned it, but reason why we're not talking about the X-Men really right now is because they're still in early development. They don't really have a plan right now as far as the MCU and their X-Men. Mostly because first we got to have the Thunderbolts, and we'd have the Fantastic Four, and then we have to have them meet together in Doomsday, and then this Spider-Man, the Brand New Day, which I'll be talking about that next summer. I'll be talking about Spider-Man Brand New Day. Hopefully the fourth Holland film. I'm going to be talking about that a lot probably this next summer. And then as far as other releases for 2026, we'll have to play it out by ear and see what happens. But we do know that next year There is going to be a season 2 of the X-Men 97 on Disney Plus next year, so we might be doing a little review special on that and or episode reactions on that. We're probably also going to do other episode reactions on other Disney Plus series, and we're possibly going to also continue our reviews on other such comic book films and series and such projects. So that way you can feel like, oh yeah, you want to hear my take on certain things. You want to hear the take on what I feel about certain things. Now that is why we do these live shows here on the Huts. That is why we do the live shows here on the Huts, is so that we can commence with you guys about what's going on with the entertainment. Okay, now we are going to be talking about some stuff. We got to go to our friend Comic Book Resources. Yep, we got to go to Comic Book Resources. Okay, what is going on at our friend Comic Book Resources? Okay, you want to know what is going on with what's going on with the Lord of the Rings? Okay, guys, you want to know what's going on with the Lord of the Rings? I'll tell you what's going on with Lord of the Rings. Okay, so, yeah, hello there, Hannah. But anyway, there are some really big announcement happening right now on the Lord of the Rings. Amazon Prime Video might be the home to the inspired spin-off series, The Lord of the Rings, The Rings of Power. However, on August the 1st, the Middle-earth fans will have to look elsewhere to stream the Lord of the Rings movie trilogy. So what does that mean, and why do we have to do that? Well, from our other friend Collider, we sometimes source our information from, Peter Jackson and his award-winning movies are going to be leaving Prime Video on July the 31st. Also, the Lord of the Rings trilogy, which also consists of The Fellowship of the Ring, The Two Towers, and Return of the King, all back-to-back from 2001, 2002, and 2003, have all won about a combined Oscars of 17 Oscars, with Return of the King taking home the most. With a Best Picture Academy Award of 2004. You guys probably already knew that because you guys who were around in 2004 probably watched the Oscars. So, the trilogy starring Elijah Wood, Sean Astin, Ian McKellen, Andy Serkis, and others, likewise the names we know, household names we know, from the series Lord of the Rings, directed by the great director Peter Jackson. So, the movies have gone on to become some of the best films in the last 2 decades, which 2 decades means 20 years. Thanks to their performance of talented cast as well as practical effects and visual effects by Howard Shore, unforgettable music score, and Andy Serkis playing an excellent portray of Gollum and Smeagol in the trilogy, it reprises the role of the Lord of the Rings with their new Lord of the Rings that's going to be coming. It's called Lord of the Rings, The Hunt for Gollum. Yes, Lord of the Rings, The Hunt for Gollum. Yes, it's actually a real movie. It's actually going to happen on the holiday of 2027. Peter Jackson is on board as producer of this film. However, the film will also be the first live-action Lord of the Rings since The Hobbit and the Battle of the Five Armies. Okay, this movie, again, The Hobbit, the Battle of the Five Armies, was released in 2014. So yes, they previously said this movie will have to take place after Bilbo Baggins' birthday and before the Mines of Moria. And Gandalf actually has to ask Aragorn to help find Gollum. Okay, the cave where Gollum lives. So then, they offer this update on the new movie, The Hunt for Gollum. Yes, The Hunt for Gollum is actually happening in December of 2027. Yes, it's deliberately going to be a bridge film between the story we want to tell. They said in a previous interview from our friend The Playlist, they said they will only be coming back only to direct The Hunt for Gollum. However, the updated fans, also the movie status per Collider, with Serkis returning and reprising his role as Gollum from the Animation and Film Festival in France. However, this talk and buzz has been the film might has begin production soon. We're very, very early on this project right now, he says, but we've been talking about it over time in the course of the last year or so. So this has been kind of happening for a while. So when you're about to start the preparation for the next few months of filming or so, we'll have to shoot the film somewhere to the middle of next year. So again, our guess as any will probably be a very sizable large movie, probably like a 2-hour movie. Also, all ready for the December 2027 release, being again the first new live action story since the Battle of the Five Armies, which happened in 2014. Okay, so he also states the movie will also still be shot in New Zealand, just like the rest of The Lord of the Rings and the rest of the Hobbit films. We're really excited to go back to New Zealand because, again, all of it happens in New Zealand. All the hardcore fans know that The Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit is filmed in New Zealand. You're actually going to do something with it. And I think going to be surprising to yet very much of the lore and the feel of the trilogy, he says. The sensibility feel of it. I think so closely to that. And yet we're investigating the greater depth of his character, formerly known as Smeagol, but more known as Gollum. The Lord of the Rings trilogy will only be on Prime Video until July the 31st. So it will only be available on Prime Video until July 31st. Now, if you actually own The Lord of the Rings, the movie trilogy, you guys are good. But if you don't, then you should definitely consider yourself buying the Lord of the Rings movie set and stuff like that. So, again, that is what's going on with Lord of the Rings. Lord of the Rings. Yeah. Okay. Now, since we still have a few people here watching, we are going to be talking a little bit about something else on their comic book resources. And yes, my dog has come in my room like already 3 times to make sure that I was awake. And yes, I am awake because I'm talking here on the live show with you. Okay, what is going on with Robot Chicken? And this is going to be in Eric Appreciation, because we are still in Eric Appreciation. Robot Chicken. Okay, Robot Chicken creator now reveals the Star Wars legend and the Oscar winner they are trying to do for years to land as a guest star. Okay, the famous show by Adult Swim that also has been home to many iconic shows like Family Guy and Smiling Friends. But the program block will always hold a special place in my heart for one of the longest running shows ever, the stop motion sketch comedy we know, Robot Chicken, which rose to fame in 2005. Okay, now there's going to be another entry that's on the Robot Chicken. It's called Robot Chicken, the Self-Discovery Special. Yes, it's true. There's going to be another special. The Robot Chicken Self-Discovery Special. These celebrate those 20 years of the best way to celebrate the series Robot Chicken. Because again, it released in 2005. So this is obviously 20 years later. Comic Book Resources spoke with our creator Seth Green and his friend Matthew about the latest entry on why this format has shifted from typical seasons. They also said, because the guest stars hope to have one day to offer more further advice to any 4 creators to look out to bring their ideas to the forefront. So, what does that mean? Well, Comic Book Resources tries to say, what was the reason behind the switch from the season to the special? And then Seth Green says, because the TV landscape has definitely changed fundamentally. So, in a sense, people have already shifted the way they watch television. So therefore, we have over 250 episodes It doesn't make a lot of sense to create more 20 quarter hour long episodes when, in a sense, you want to just have the specials. And the show is also still spending their money, so the best way to do that is to still have it curated. So it makes more sense for us to focus on half hour instead of 20 quarter half hour episodes, whereas it's more better that way. And if we do that, then we produce, like, I don't know, 2 specials a year. We say, like what South Park is doing. We do like 2 specials a year, and then first and we thought, oh, they're just trying to reduce the overall workload. Well, kind of, but it's also the smart workload. You don't want to go too hard. What is the inspiration behind making the theme for the popular Robot Chicken? Well, we don't know if you know this, but again, Warner Brothers and all of its subsidiaries got purchased by Discovery Media. So it just really kind of stuck around, and it's like, oh, what should we do? Discovery Channel. And then they bought Discovery Channel. And then, in 2023, when I talked to you guys about how they bought Discovery Channel on the channel, remember? And then what if we just did that? And so it's like one of those moments where it's like, oh, the company wants to buy everyone. It gets kind of confusing on the inside take, but who's allowed to make decision and what's appropriate when and when you're allowed, what you're allowed to do. So we're like, hey y'all, what's up, new corporate daddy? We just want to make a good stepkid. So, what do you think? So we had these meetings with all these new executives, and we're like, this is the best way we should do it, and come around together so quickly, and still be able to cook up awesome content. Matthew's like, yeah, there's something fun about poking around and poking fun at your mom and dad, a little bit like. And then Green's like, then on top of it, for your credit, everybody was so cool. They're like, oh yeah, this is the badge of honor that I wear on my shirt. For you guys to focus on us. And then our friend Senridge, he says, watching us since the beginning of the Shark Week, and then paying attention to us in a great way has been very swell. Green then says, yeah, absolutely. There's a lot of that Shark Week in the special too, because they also have Shark Week specials also happen in July, in case you guys are into that sort of thing. Are there any dream celebrity guests you want to bring into the show? So it says, yeah, we want to have Harrison Ford come back. He will always want to return. But I grew up watching him, and I'm more like, watching him more is now like, how awesome he was and how amazing he was. And I don't even know if your requests have ever been listened to by any of his fans. But we always love to ask. I think the trick would be having him play something other than Han Solo. Or, other than, his other role, Indiana Jones. Then, we might even consider having him in. Actually, in this point, in his career, he's like so much more gregarious than we ever thought he was. And he might be open to it. For me, I want to have George Clooney. Just because George Clooney is also kind of interesting. And, and if we want George Clooney in there, it'd be also almost offensive, because it was like the first episode of South Park where we just happen to know everybody. I don't know why he's running from me. I'm kidding. Are there any other skits or specials that you guys have done in the past you feel you'd want to go back, change, revisit in any way, or look back? Well, there's a little bit of stuff here and there, but the little bit of cringing about it, because you realize, oh, it was okay at the time, but now it's not okay now. We can't go back, we're not editing it, and we're not changing it. It's going to stay there. So the growth, I feel, is critical. The evolution is also critical. So therefore, being able to see things in a better context is really yet valuable. But yes, the older you get, the more feeling you have, and the more you're like, and he cuts off there. That might not have been appropriate. We are very rarely mean to an individual. All of our jokes are less than like points. So there are handfuls of ways that it was like we did that, and I definitely wish we haven't. But what are you going to do? Well, My dad and I always loved watching Robot Chicken on Adult Swim and even the show Titan Maximum, which a few of you guys know. But we adored the show so much, they were like, oh, can we get more of it? Can we get more of it? Can we get more of it? And so then they say, I have to say, I wish there was more awareness to the show. I think what happened was when Adult Swim saw it differently than we did all those 20 years later, and they're like, oh, yeah, this humor is not okay. Well, for today's kids, that is. I appreciate them for even allowing us to air it, but if they don't re air it, the same way we had all those 20 years ago, like when they do with any other show. So the only thing we could do is build awesomeness and build some awareness to some capacity or degree. But I love the idea of doing some Voltron in a 90-degree angle so his side is all messed up. I appreciate this question. It made me smile. There's so much material in there, like we're developing just as a 2D show, just to be able to continue and cast all these people and tell this story. But Adult Swim has definitely changed. It's just a different animal now. So you know what I mean? I appreciate that you continue to inspire me to find outlets to put out episodes out. Yeah, I heard you answer that question about, bringing Buffy the Vampire Slayer back on television or anything else like that on television. So how would you want to come back? But if it only fits us in a way where the story can still have a story beat. And would you want to come back and explore, like maybe bring Buffy the Vampire Slayer back on television? Well, I don't know. The problem is, what we're doing right now with Sarah Michelle Gellar and Quozo is really interesting. Bringing the character back into the roots of pop culture, and I don't think anybody's emphasis on them returning as legacy characters to the screen, but I haven't imagined the show work well enough. And then when they expand the character of the awareness of the other characters and the fans who are watching the show, and then they're like, oh, well, this could be a way the other characters could show up. Show up. And I don't expect any kind of like a big reunion or anything like that. But I really love the kid they cast. So yeah, nobody's talking about Buffy the Vampire Slayer that much anymore. But if we could, we would. And again, but I think everybody who worked on it would be considered this to be a place of their favorite characters. Would you guys ever consider going back to the Marvel Robot Chicken special? Or, the Marvel Robot Chicken special? I mean, I would love to see Howard the Duck. Howard the Duck. I know Howard the Duck. You gotta have Howard the Duck. Yeah, but we've been trying that for like 8 years. Of course we would want to do that. It really comes down and boils down to who is able to curate the streaming into perpetuality, and will both companies, since the multiple platforms, would air the variety of the content, because Robot Chicken is a variety show, it's a sketch show, it's a comedy. And so the thing that would always scuttle through this deal is how it would exist after its initial airway. So then write a letter to the people and the creators at Robot Chicken, be like, Dear Robot Chicken creator, Seth Green and Matthew, I want you to do this. I want you to include this. I want you to include this character. So then that way it's like, okay, now we heard from our fans. And then if we want to promise it, we'll promise it. What's your fondest memory of working on Robot Chicken? Well, when we first made the show, nobody had idea what it was. So we literally call up people and explain what stop motion is. And then people at Cartoon Network like, oh yeah, Cartoon Network, yeah. Well, obviously it was different back in 2000s. But, nowadays, it's just garbage now. But we got to the director, it's like, are you fucking crazy? And then everybody's like, yes, we are crazy. And then we're probably going to go all get fired. But whatever. Everybody today in 2025 is getting fired. So, okay, it's no big deal. I mean, for me, it's hard to find that one true moment or that one true job, that makes you feel like you. And then you go back to that day and it's like, oh yeah, our first Christmas party. It's like, oh yeah, our first work Christmas party. Yeah. I'm like, what the fuck, man? Nobody wants to talk about a Christmas party, a work Christmas party, because most times nowadays you'll be lucky if you get a work Christmas party. Some companies now in 2025 don't even have work Christmas parties. You might get a Christmas bonus, or you might have to work on Christmas, but a Christmas party? Nah. So you're watching these people who have worked all their life for 20 years on the show, and you're like, oh, how many people did it have you have to point to? And it's like, yeah, I just kind of laugh, I chuckle, and I smile. And you say your staff come out, and you're like, you just want to clap for them, like, and then you're able to call and text them, say, great job, great job, great job. And then, what advice would you want to pull to the people that start their own show if you've earned what you earned from Robot Chicken? Well, if there's nothing really else to do, but anybody's like, if you want to learn how to do stop motion like Robot Chicken, then you have to have the tools available to you. Also, you need to have a movie studio. If you don't have a movie studio, you can't do your production or your shows. So then you're like, oh, how do I do it? Well, Seth Green just told you you need to have the tools and you need to have a movie studio. If you don't have that, you're probably not gonna get anything. All right. So that is all for now, and I'll see you on the next episode of The Huts.